Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to A Table for Queens. It is so excited we'll meet with you again. Sorry we have missed a few weeks, but we're making sure everyone enjoyed the holiday. Today, we're going to do a quick recap of all we have read, go over some of the topics that we have discussed. June was a very vital month. It was a month of celebrating our history, which was Juneteenth. We covered a lot in important topics. We also discussed a powerful book that spoke about our history and also about our culture and about a lot of the laws. And this week we are also going to introduce a new book and a new author, Miss Mary Monroe. It's called One House Over. She has a lot of great books. I have read a lot of her books throughout the years, and the ones that I love were her God series books. But first and foremost, give everybody a chance to introduce themselves. I am Coretta Nicole. Thank you guys for logging on.
I am Donna. It's nice to be with you all tonight.
I'm Doris. Glad to be here. Glad to see you.
I'm Leora.
And I am.
All right, ladies. So this week, let's start off with doing a quick recap of some of the books that we discussed. Let's start off by everyone introducing which book that they could relate to, or that changed them, or they just pretty much enjoyed the most. Who would like to go first?
We had so many. I enjoyed Holy Rollers. That was nice. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the Fly on the Wall was suspenseful, but it ended good. The other book, I can't remember the name of it. Help me out.
I Am Worthy. I enjoyed that one. We could really easily relate to I Am Worthy. Because we were familiar with some of the things that were going on in that book. We had firsthand knowledge of some of those things. So I Am Worthy.
I agree. I Am Worthy. Especially because it was a local author, and she was able to participate with us, as well as Holy Rollers. That author participated also with us, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Thank you for logging us, Miss Rashida Taste Billings. She also has a brand new book that came out as well. I think it was last month or this month, but she did log on and she showed us some love, and that was greatly appreciated. Miss Brittany Coleman did log on from I Am Worthy. As you all know, if you log in with us every week, we are from Mississippi, and we did have a local author that has been selling her books and has been doing very well. And she spoke about her life, her issues, her and everything that she has been through, even within the school system. And we all could relate a lot to her book. A Sin and a Shame. I think that was one of my most favorite books because it spoke a lot about God, looking at yourselves, looking at your life then and now. It dealt with a lady that she had complex issues. I think what I most liked about that book was redemption, because she came in thinking of the pastor as one way. And you know how most of the time you read a lot of books and the pastor has so many secrets. But in this particular book, the pastor did not. He was a man of honorable characters. And at the end, he showed her grace and mercy, even when he didn't have to. But he showed her love and grace. He stood for the epitome of what pastors actually stand for. And I did love that aspect of the book.
And like I said, we had so many good books, so many. And what book I touched on, we didn't actually read it, but I'm reading it, The Color of Law, that deals with some of the current issues that have gone on now, that have been going on since the beginning of time, and will continue to go on for a long time. The Color of Law. How the United States government, the forgotten history of how our government segregated America.
And what I do like, even though I have not read it, but you have spoken a lot about it, and I do love the aspect aspect of it. I remember when I was in college, and I found a book the other day when we used to go over in college, and it was speaking of how people fail to realize, but law does have a color. The law was not written for African Americans. It was actually written in favor of Caucasians, and sometimes we often forget. We forget the mission of what our ancestors actually died for, so we could actually live and be free. And sometimes it feels like we are not free because of all the issues that we face. We have seen a lot of issues on TV these past current weeks, dealing with a young female athlete of whether or not she should go to the Olympics, and they have found a rule where she cannot go. So it was a lot of backlash with that. It was also a lot of things going on with Bill Cosby and him being freed. But a lot of people, they were taking on the aspect of was he guilty or not, but they missed the mission of they actually had to go back and follow the law within his case. He was sentenced up on the wrong sentencing terms, and it was not fair because he had already made a deal where he would not be sentenced to prison. So the law did prevail in that situation, regardless of whether or not we think he were guilty or innocent. And I think maybe if we read more into that book, we'll understand the complexities of the law, because law does have a color, unfortunately. And we realized that with the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, because so many things were happening in our country, and a lot of Black people were dying at the hands of law officers. And they also started a movement called Blue Lives Matter. So we do have a lot of issues that we face. So anybody that's joining in, this is more than a book club. It's a union of women coming together, speaking on issues and trying to unite, speaking on everyday issues that we go through as women. And we are not against men, because we always invite the men to join on and speak about their issues as well, even with the books. Because The Seen and Ashamed spoke about also a great man, which was Hosea. He was, I'm not going to say he was the perfect man, but he was perfect for Jasmine because he was what she needed, even when she didn't realize. Okay. Also, for our new book one is called One House Over. It's by Miss Mary Monroe. If you have not gotten a book, this book also touches on a piece of our history. It's set in the South. It's set in the South from a community in Alabama, and it's going to speak about an issue that actually happened in our history. I don't want to put it out there this week. I'll let us get a little more chance to dive into it. And Mary Monroe is a New York Times bestselling author as well. But this book speaks about family. It speaks about business, marriages. It speaks about pretty much Southern rights. Has anyone gotten a book yet?
I have it.
I have, and I'm actually on chapter 22.
Oh, wow.
I started reading, and I couldn't stop reading. So it's very interesting book. So I can't say anything since we have to wait until everyone purchased the book and start reading.
Yeah. It's a good book, you guys. From what I'm reading, and then I always try to read the reviews. I read the negative and the positive of it, but so I guess we'll just see next week once we get more into it. What I did want to also talk about, it's another local author. I've invited her on, and she's excited to be on. She wants to speak about her life and everything that she has went through. I have not necessarily read a book, but we're going to introduce that book soon as well. I don't want to jump ahead, but the reason why I want to speak on it, because as the things that we were speaking on last month with the Color of Law book, I think once you read her book or get more into it, you'll realize the complexity that a woman goes through as a single mom. Because we have read books dealing with single motherhood, but she was speaking about the choices that she made in life. She's from, okay, let me not misspeak. Leora is more familiar with her. Leora, would you like to elaborate more on her book and her background as well?
Okay. She's from Louise. Well, I guess she's originally from Chicago. And then she moved to Louise when she was a little girl. The name of her books is 4 Kids, 4 Baby Daddies, and Still Winning, something like that. And it really is a great read. She's a young mother, and she kind of gives her story of domestic violence, severe domestic violence, and how she overcame She's a licensed social worker. She finished school from an impoverished area, so, and it's a really great, great, great read. The book is, especially for young women. When I read it, I said, oh, wow. When I was teaching 11th grade and teaching high school, so I said, if I go back to the high school classroom, I would get a classroom set of her books and allow the students to read because, there's one part of her book where she talks about how she just kept going back. She just kept going back. She kept going back. And she talked about how one day she got bold and he beat her up so bad she woke up in the hospital. It's one of those books that you can relate to, and she tells it in a nice, and it's not a thick book, but it's a touching book. I thought it was really good. She did a great job telling her story, and persevering and really, what we talk a lot about, learning how to love herself and finding peace and joy in herself and not seeking relationships, approval from a man to give her that. So it's a really good book. She go through each baby daddy, each situation, and it's good. It's a good read.
Were all the guys similar? Kind of the same type guys? Was she choosing like the same type of men?
I don't think so. I don't. Not that I can, But one thing I liked about her, which I don't necessarily think I have myself, but there, when if it was something she ain't like it. It was like if I don't like this, I don't like this. So there was some things she compromised on, and some things she wouldn't. I think I think we're gonna be able to have a really good discussion about this book, and of course we can see ourselves in really, really wanting something to work so bad. I mean, just really, really, really wanting it to work, and you getting punched across the face, but still really, really wanting it to work, and really, really wanting that nuclear unit, a nuclear family where there's mom and dad, even if it is an abusive type situation. So I hope that I don't just ruin it for everybody when we get to her book. But it's I could definitely relate, although I've never been abused, praise God, I haven't. But it's one of those that you can relate to. And it's an inspiring story, her story, it's inspiring.
Okay.
Okay. And what's the name of it again?
I think you said 4 baby daddies. Did you say that, Leora?
4 baby daddies and
I just pulled it off my bookshelf. But this is the book here. It's 4 kids, 4 fathers still winning. And this is the author here. Can you guys see that?
She's gonna come on. Yeah, 4 kids, 4 fathers, and still winning is by Miss Valencia Taylor. She has agreed to be on. I told her, let her know, but I wanted to give ourselves, since we have already had a local author on, and introduce Miss Mary Monroe book, because from what I read, hers is a great read also. And I think as women, we can relate a lot to these books. And as Leora said, Miss Valencia's book. But she's excited to be on. She just said, let her know, because so she can discuss the issues that she faced in the book. She seemed like she's real open to it. She's a very sweet young lady. She was very nice, and she was able to speak with. Okay, ladies, if we can look back at any book, what advice would you give anyone that listens to us in general? What is some of the best advice that as we have learned the past couple of months.
Be true to yourself. Put, be honest with yourself, learn who you are, before you're trying to find out who someone else about someone else. Take care of yourself. And take pride in yourself. Whatever your beliefs are, stick with them. Stick with what you believe in, what you hold dear or hold true. Don't compromise. Don't try to go along to get along, especially if you're gonna feel bad in the end. You're gonna feel worse, and you trying to please someone else. So that's what I would tell someone.
I would say something similar to on those lines, Doris. Get to know yourself before you get involved with someone else. Get to find out the things that you like about you, and just get to know who you are before you jump out there into a relationship. Especially if you've gotten out of and most of our books we've talked about relationships, and most of the characters in the books have been in bad relationships or made some bad decisions. So before you can go from one relationship to another, learn to love you, learn to get to know about you, and before you can give yourself completely to someone else. Because if you don't, you're going to end up in a similar situation than the one that you were coming out of, or the many situations that you have come out of. So just learn, get to know you, and find the things that you want for you. What is best for you before you can bring someone else into your circle or into your life.
I agree. Yeah.
I agree as well. I think the best love is self-love. And I think even in a lot of books that we've read, a lot of things that we see now, and it's so much happening. And it's like, we matter as women, we matter as men. And I think before anybody, boy, girl, or whatever you like, love yourself first. Because if you don't love yourself, if you go into a relationship broken, sometimes people accept you as broken because they're broken, and you can't fix each other. People cannot fix you. The only person can truly fix you is when you learn to love yourself more and trust in the higher power that's looking down above you. Because a lot of things are predestined, but sometimes we make a lot of bad decisions looking for love in all the wrong places. So I think throughout all the books that we have read, and that's what it was trying to teach us, self-love and self-respect. And I think we need that in order to function as a society, in order to function in relationships, and in order to be better as a people and as a whole. So I wholeheartedly agree with what everyone else has said as well. Kim? Okay. I think maybe she is away at the moment. Okay, Donna, you are on chapter 22. So if you don't mind, would you start just giving us a brief introduction without giving away the whole entirety of the book, One House Over? Would you give us a brief introduction to it so the readers that are looking to purchase it, they have a general idea of what the book is about?
Okay, well, One House Over, this book is about a young lady named Joyce. And what I could gather from reading the book, Joyce, the book tells us that Joyce is an only child. She has older parents. They live in a decent neighborhood, a little upscale more than some of the other colored people, as they say in the book, live. And her parents owned a store. But she didn't have a lot of confidence in herself. She constantly said negative things about herself. She called herself ugly. She didn't like the way that she looked. She didn't like the way that her body was made. And she didn't like her life. At that point, I really don't think she really cared too much about her life. So, you know, when you start constantly saying these things about yourself, you start believing them, you know, that you're not pretty, you know, no man is going to ever want to be with you, because again, she wanted a relationship, and people around her, her age, had married. Some of them had already had 4 and 5 kids, and she was still at home with her mom, reading novels, reading magazines, and she was assistant teacher at a school. So she wanted a relationship really bad. And so one day she met someone, and this young man worked at her store, an older gentleman, and they eventually got married. But some things happened in between them getting married, and then they got married, and she became pregnant, and then it goes on from there. It gets really, really, really good from there. I think one chapter that I read, I was really proud of her husband, because he took her in the mirror. He sat her down. He took her in the bathroom and he set her before the mirror. And he said, "Look at yourself." He said, "Stop saying things about yourself. Stop calling yourself ugly." He said, "Stop talking negative about yourself." He said, "Because when you say those things about yourself, they become true in your mind. And when they become true in your mind, then that's who you become." And so I really did like that point, when he told her, you know, to speak differently over her life. And she wasn't, according to the people in the book, she wasn't the prettiest, but it was just something about her that he liked. Besides her parents' money, he still liked her just a little.
Affirmation. I think we all need that in a relationship. You always want to know that you matter to the person that you're with. But like I said, we speak a lot about relationships. I don't know exactly how to word this, but for anybody that's listening, I know all women and men relate to this. What is the addiction to being in a relationship, wanting that love, even when it's wrong? What do you think we go wrong with that? Does anyone have an answer?
Well, I know that we were created to be loved, and we were created to love. I mean, you just were. And I know that we can be so hard on ourselves for wanting acceptance and love, and you want it from your spouse or from your husband. You know, I mean, God created us that way, you know, and you know, and as it relates to toughing it out, we need to learn how to tough it out. Although we still need to learn how to let it go. You know, there are times when you have to let it go, but we have to tough it out, because no relationship would have longevity without toughing it out. I mean, it just would not. So for one, we were created to love, and we were created to be loved. We need it like we need oxygen. We, you know, we need to be loved. And we beat ourselves up because there's that desire. And I believe that God put that desire there, you know, and if he gives you that desire, then he's going to meet that need. That's what the word says. He will give you the desires of your heart, literally give you the desire to want that thing, and then hand you that thing that you've been desiring. So, and toughing it out is just a part of it. You know, you tough it out with your children. You have some people that just refuse to let their spouse go, and they change. Maybe years later, you know, many years later, you know, but they change, and it gets better, you know. So, and it's just one of those things where you just kind of have to persevere through it, even if it's getting your highest degree in education. You persevere through it. You know, raising those children, you persevere through it. Everything, you can't just throw your hands up and say, you know what, I quit, you know, or you'll never accomplish that goal.
Anyone else?
My take, and this is my opinion only, there are so many reasons why individuals do what individuals do. Some stay married because they don't want to be lonely. They said they would live in a piece of, what is that? A piece of man is better than no man, or a piece of marriage is better than no marriage. They want security. They want, when they see their friends, their college friends or their high school friends, and they know they've been married, they want to be happy to say, yes, we're still together, or no, we're not, instead of saying, no, we're not together, they want to still be together. There's a lot of people in this world that when they walk outside the door, they happy and smiling, because it's a thing. There are a lot of communities, upscale communities, where you maybe have to be married to stay in the group or to be a part of the crowd. Whether there's love in that house or not, you're gonna have to stay in that house, unless you want to be ostracized and divorced. Well, you out the group. So it's a lot of reasons why people stay married. Some married for love. Some stay married for 70-some years. Stay married for love. Some stay married because it's convenient. Whatever. It is so many reasons. And I don't think a lot of them, is very few of them are biblical reasons. It's what's going on in the world now. A lot of people have sold out to be a part of the in crowd, to be in the know. So a lot of people have sold out what they value and what is biblically required. So there's so many reasons. You could never pinpoint the reason that people stay married. I mean, there's 100,000 reasons people stay together in a house. And I think the least one of them, if you do a poll, the least reason is love. Because I always, Tina Turner's song will always be in my mind. What love got to do with anything? Nothing.
And in this case, in the book, this young lady wanted to get married because she felt as if no one was going to ever look at her. And so when the man looked at her, gave her an attention, she wanted to marry him so fast in case he decided that he didn't want to be with her anymore. So she married because she thought that this was going to be her one and only opportunity, that if he got away, no one else would ever want her. And so it wasn't love. And then he was not financially secure to take care of her. But in her mind, she said that he can do better. He'll be better. I can help him. Because she was trying to make him into something that she wanted him to be, because she wanted someone to be with her. So like Doris said, there are a lot of reasons why people get into relationships, stay in relationships that may not be the best type for them.
And I said, like, if you do a poll, one of these companies that their polling supposed to be legit, if you do a poll on why people get married, the last one on the list will be love. And I bet the first one be financial stability. And somewhere in the middle come children. But love is way down the line.
Yes, on the surface, you probably would never see love on the surface. But if you look under the surface, being alone, I actually read this awesome. This guy gave this testimony about how he was miserable being married. And he was even more miserable being single. And he was like, if I had to pick my misery, I would have chosen my married life. And if you look at the stats, you will find that people live longer when they have somebody, but it's foundationally just another person's touch, you know, I mean, I don't know, this thing runs deep, but I'm talking about on the minimal to low surface area as it relates to intimacy and conversation and companionship, you know. So, and not just marriage, because there was a time when people cared about being married. In 2021, it ain't so much like that today. It might be in some areas and in some places, but marriage is the last thing people care about. The average person, you do have those that still want to be married, but sex is happening, babies are coming, and they're in high school with it. So intimacy and waiting for that one person. Now everything is unfortunately, we're in an era of where there's a lot of promiscuous people. And if they like you, they'll give themselves to you. And it's still, I believe, of course, it's just my personal belief that even for that young girl that's out having a sexual relationship in high school or elementary school, it's still that acceptance and that wanting to be loved, a foundational, issue.
But Lenora, a lot of women, after their husband or spouse pass away, the first thing they say is, I'll never get married again. I've been down that road one time. So it's, seemed like something was, they were there, they endured through it, but it's over, I'm free, and I'll never be caged again. So I like I said, so many reasons. And like I've always said, I love the single life. I love the single life.
I know what you mean. I've been married 20 years. It'll be 20 years in August next month. It'll be 20 years. And I often say, but, I often say the same thing. Oh, Lord, I'll never do this again. So, but I tell you, but if you have someone, if it's no more than your grandchildren, if it's no more than your children, because at the end of the day, being alone in a house, nobody want to be alone in no house. I don't care who you are. So you say, I don't need nobody but God and want me. Yeah.
I'm happy.
Well, not you personally, the average person, wants somebody.
Yeah.
Right. I can't.
I watch too much. Snap. I watch too much Snap and Crime and CSI.
I can't speak for all women, but that's not on marriage. I think it's a longing to be in a relationship for a lot of people. But I think entering into any relationship, if you have self-love and if your foundation is strong, you're gonna be fine with or without a partner, with or without marriage, and you have to choose your battles. Marriage is hard, divorce is hard, being single is hard, being in a relationship is hard. I think you truly have to choose your battles. But I think even from a lot of books that we read, we found some women that did want to be married because they wanted to live right, or some men wanted to live right because that's the ultimate goal for God. It's in the Bible. It says, who finds a wife finds a good thing and finds favor with the Lord. It's also a scripture where God says, for I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you. So it's like everything is predestined. I think with relationships, you just have to pick the type of relationship that you want. And you have to realize, like, when you're in a relationship, you're giving someone else the power over your emotions, the power over the choices that you make. So I think that's why when some people come out of marriages, it's like you're free. No one else, you don't have to answer to anybody. You go and come as you please. You buy and spend free as you want. And I think some people do well with or without marriage, even with the financial, because it's like some women have held it down and been powerhouses by themselves with or without a relationship, and some men have as well. But I guess you just choose your battles or what is hard or what is easy for you. But that is the complex things of this world, being in a relationship, whether married or boyfriend and girlfriend or friends, or whatever it is, relationships are going to be hard. And the biggest prison system where we live in is the battlefield of our minds, because it all starts with our minds and all starts with a choice. Okay, but before we conclude, does anyone have anything else they would like to say and just give to the viewers? Because as I said, all of these are our thoughts and opinions, but we hope that we can bless you and that you learn something from us as we learn something from you. And we're also learning from these books, because these books are written from the heart and compassion of others to give us something out here. We have a voice, and we can use our voice wisely to be a blessing to each other.
Could you, Coretta, give everybody a recap of the books that we have read and discussed thus far, and maybe our audience want to go back and pick out a book to read what they missed?
The first book that we read, it was a very good book. It was called Holy Rollers. It was about a group of friends, and that's what it was about. They were getting older. They wanted to get wiser in their choices and in their decisions, and their ultimate goal was to marry. But unfortunately, some of them realized they could not get away from their past or their own minds, and some ruined great relationships. Some truly discovered themselves and realized they were better alone. And some of them realized they were not who they thought they were in a relationship within those three friends. We also read Brittany Coleman's book, I Am Worthy. She was a local author, and she was speaking on learning to love herself, trusting and having a better relationship with God. She was speaking about entering a relationship, being a stepmom, and also being stronger single parent and overcoming her past of the destruction that was spoken over her life, feeling that she would never be good enough. But she got an ultimate blessing. She was a college graduate. She's being great as a single mom, and she's buying a home, and she's standing strong on her own. We also read A Sin and a Shame by Victoria Christopher Murray. That's a book, and it was speaking about a relationship, a very self-destructive woman that wanted what she wanted. She didn't care how she had to get it. But in the end, she realized you cannot play with God. You cannot run from God. And all the sins that you have done will bring you to shame. But even when she was at her ultimate lowest, the person that she least expected still gave her grace and mercy. And then our last book we read was A Fly on the Wall by Trista Russell. It was a very great book, and it showed that everyone had a secret. Everyone was busy judging everyone, but everybody had a secret. And it also showed us how not having enough self-love could lead to death, because a woman died because she didn't speak up for herself when it came to her and her husband. And it also showed how people judgment on you when they can't judge you, because they also have skeletons in the closet as well. And then we also was introduced to the color of law, letting us know that law does have a color, and the world was divided because of segregation. And I think I covered all of them. Was those all the books, or did I miss one?
I think that's all I think that's it. I don't remember. I think that's it.
I think y'all talked about Jim Crow. Then y'all talked about that one time.
Yeah, we spoke about the
Well,
that
we
was
were
introduced to
discussing-
with the color of law.
Okay.
We did. We spoke about the Jim Crow laws. We spoke about Brown versus the Board of Education. We spoke about Harriet Tubman and John Brown, who also helped with labor in the Underground Railroad. Yep, in the critical race theory, when they not want to introduce it in school and different things like that. We did
1619 Project, and which is
Yeah, we
still
spoke-
and I don't know, we mentioned the George Floyd Act and all of that is still trying to be settled to this day.
And in the current read, One House Over, they do talk about Jim Crow, and they talk about racism and Ku Klux Klan and incidents that had happened in nearby counties with white women claiming that they had been raped or attacked by African-American men. And of course, it was true. It wasn't true, but you know what happened didn't go well in the colored man's favor. So this book touches on that as well.
And it's a true story that introduced it about the being accused of rape about the Black guys. And then y'all remember later on in life, you know, I say history repeats itself. Remember that also happened in New York when they put those 5 boys in prison for all that time, knowing that they did not.
Central Park.
Yeah, the Central Park 5, when Donald Trump wrote that letter saying that they need to be sentenced to death. So yeah, this book covers a lot of things as well, and it talks about segregation. So hopefully you get it. It is a good read, and as being minorities, especially what's going on now, it's important that we know our history.
And I know a lot of people don't like talking about why do they bring up the past, but it's not the past. It's the present. It's the present. Segregation, racism, it's never the past. It's gonna forever be a present. And you're not trying to preach hate, but you're trying to bring awareness. So you'll know when you face these things, you have heard it. It's not anything new to you. It is very much alive. It probably have taken different forms, different directions, but it's still the same thing.
Yes. And then it teaches us unity, because if we don't stand together, if we don't stand for each other, then we fall for anything, because that's the biggest thing. When they speak about the ghettos and stuff like that, they put us in the ghettos. When they speak about drugs, they put that in our communities to racial divide and conquer us. We were introduced to a manifesto by Mr. Luton when it spoke on that, saying how we were going to be single parents, how men were going to run away from drugs, and how we were going to be on the welfare system. So if they can speak that when it was not into existence, imagine how they're trying to pit us against each other now. We have to learn to stick together and speak on these important issues, regardless of how uncomfortable, because it's true. And especially if you're single parents and you have children, we have to teach our children better, because we want better for them. We don't want them to be racially divided or racially ignorant either, because it's not fair to them, and it's not fair how the system puts us against each other. So we have to be wiser. We have to discuss these issues because it's important.
Yeah, and don't be fooled. But please still be careful with the COVID-19 Delta variant. Don't be fooled by what they say on the news. They trying to bring the economy back at anybody's expense. And you know, basically it's gonna be our expense. We just have to be careful. We must be careful.
Have to be. And I know a lot of people don't believe in herbal medicine, but if you're facing symptoms, if you're not, you want to build up your immune system, vitamins help. Green tea, because that's a natural detox. Lemon and honey, it helps with cold and fever. So it's like we have to take care of ourselves, because there's more African Americans dying from this COVID strand than any other race. So we have to get better by building up our immune system, taking vitamins, and taking care of ourselves. It's not hard, but we have to. We have to. I habitually drink green tea, but I mix mine with different things to make sure it tastes better, because it helps, especially with having a medical background. All right, you guys. Well, we're going to conclude it for this evening. Thank you guys so much for logging on. And again, this is just our opinions. We want to raise awareness. We want you to always practice self-love, know who you are, love who you are, and be who you are truly destined to be, because no one in life owns you but you. So stand up for what you believe in, and you have a voice. You matter. Ladies, you would like to say anything before we sign off?
As always, I enjoy.
All
Just
right.
continue
And
to
keep
love you.
listening.
Continue to love you, love yourself, continue to listen to us, but just learn about who you are, and love who you are. Get to know who you are, and just be the best you that you can be. And it's okay to be alone sometimes. It's okay to be alone. Especially if things are not going well for you in your current relationship, or if it's someone that you're communicating with and you know that you all are not compatible, you don't have the same values, it's okay to step back. Okay. And that's all.
Thank you, guys. See you next week. This is A Table for Queens.
Okay. Bye-bye.